You know, I'm looking at this list for the NFL honors, particularly this Offensive Rookie of the Year, these nominees, and they're missing a certain Pro Bowler.
Welcome back to the James and Dame Show. I'm Josiah,
And I'm Will.
and today we're kind of going over the NFL honors predictions, I guess, because obviously certain people have certain opinions on who should win which award. But yeah, we're just gonna go through all the NFL honors that will be, I guess, awarded this Thursday. So fun times.
Yeah, we'll kind
So
of break down the nominees and for each award and who we think will get the award and kind of who we think will get it and who we think deserves it and kind of compare the two. As all of these guys have had some pretty phenomenal seasons. You want to get us kicked off with the MVP race right at the top?
for the MVP, we have on NFL.com. This is where I'm looking up all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm looking at the list here, and let's see here. They have at number one, they have Matthew Stafford. Number two, they have Drake May. Tied for third, like a three-way tie, is Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, and Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one is really a two-headed race. It's impressive that Trevor Lawrence got himself into that argument late in the year. Josh Allen got himself into the argument late in the year. But really, it's mostly between Matthew Stafford and Drake May. That's kind of been the thing. Drake May leads the league in passing yards at 4707, while Drake May's up there at 4394, and they have what Matthew Stafford has 46 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, 65% completion percentage. He's had a really good year. Then Drake May, what his touchdown to interception is 31 to 8 at 72% completion percentage. Um, that kind of just clears the other guys. The only guys up there, it's hard for them to compete. If you look at the numbers, it kind of feels like Matthew Stafford was little bit better. Again, also looking at CMC, he had 311 carries, 1,202 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, and then 100 over 100 receptions for almost another 1,000 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. All pretty crazy years, but the question is kind of numbers versus just team, like what the guy that has done the most for his team. Um, we'll start it. I feel like we should start off with who you think will win it.
All right. I think Matthew Stafford definitely wins this one. I mean, clear cut in my opinion. Pretty tough schedule. He was pretty much the MVP favorite for most of the season. Kind of fluctuated depending on the week or whatnot, but um, yeah, I mean, great stats. Played, was it 49ers and Seahawks twice? So like you are playing pretty difficult competition. And let's see here. I mean, you could argue, uh, like I don't know, maybe the costly mistakes that he's done lately could factor into him losing the MVP. But you also have to remember the NFL Honors is a regular season award. Nothing they do in the playoffs really contributes to anything.
Yeah.
But I think Matthew Stafford definitely has the best resume. Um, Not saying Drake May is incapable of competing. It's just looking at the rest of the guys besides Stafford. Drake May is definitely the best competitor for that position, or at least that award. But Drake May, uh, he's elevated by his team, and vice versa. Like in the sense of, um, he will perform as well as he will, depending on how well the rest of the team plays, and that's kind of evident with how the playoffs has kind of shown here and there. Um, like obviously he's kind of regressed a little bit in playing, but he's doing just enough to win games now. He's not like lights out like he was earlier this year. Like I said, he was playing rougher competitions. So
Uh. Okay. You know, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one. In that, I think Drake May. Yes, he was playing like a much easier slate of games in the regular season. Um, I don't really think he got carried by his team all that much. I think he did a really. I think where you get with Drake May is someone who was really good at elevating his team. He was by far the most effective and efficient quarterback of, especially of the two. But I mean, his completion percentage is just ridiculous. It's not just dink and dunks. He was able to do it in the deep passing game, and this is with the receivers that aren't huge names. I think he did a great job of elevating his team, and that speaks to him. I will add again. I think what we're seeing in the playoffs is it's his first playoff run. I think his play has dropped off, admittedly, but like you
yeah,
mentioned, it's they don't judge it off of the playoffs, so
yeah,
it would be a very different
yeah,
story if that was the case. But I do
yeah,
value more. To me, I think my prediction is going to be that Drake May wins this because I feel like he's kind of during the regular season, he felt like the epitome of what an MVP is, which is he carried his team to a lot of wins because the offense doesn't, I don't think, functions nearly to the level that it does without Drake May. And I think he's kind of what gave them so many wins. Again, yes, easy schedule. Yes, he has a good defense and a good coach. But I think what he did with that offense is what put them in such a commanding spot. And Matthew Stafford, yes, I love Matthew Stafford, and I think he did have a really great year. I think the last couple weeks of the season is kind of where he didn't look the best, and I think that hurt his stock a little bit. Drake May too also hurt his stock a little bit the last few weeks. I just think Stafford was a little bit more. So while the numbers favor Matthew Stafford, I do think I would have to go with my prediction being Drake May as the one to win MVP. I have a feeling that you're gonna also have the same person that you believe deserves it, but I'll let you justify that in
yeah,
itself.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't see how a lot of people think that Drake May is the most valuable player like in the entire league. Like you can make cases with everybody. Um, I mean, you can say the same thing with like Allen, Lawrence, and McCaffrey because of their team, obviously. But I have a very hard time trying to, I don't know, wrap my head around the idea that I don't know. It's just it's always that schedule that bothers me the most because it's like I think
Yeah.
most valuable player. I think most valuable player is determined by not by like um, how well you elevate your team, but I think individual performance against tougher opponents. I feel like that's what we're not talking about here enough. Or at least
I
not just
mean,
us, but like the
again,
entire
he
NFL.
doesn't get to choose his schedule though, so I don't know what you like. That's not fair
Yeah,
to
which
judge
is
him by
yeah,
what his schedule is. What I will say is, again, Matthew Stafford
yeah.
had great numbers, but I think what Drake May did with a team that just a year ago was 4-13, and the offense, like we had said going into the season, was not that improved. It was not a very improved offense. The roster on the offense is not great. There's the weapons are not really there yet. He still went out and put out. They still had this team that went 14-3 and made it as the 2 seed, and it's despite the fact that they don't have great weapons, and it's not just because the defense won them all their games. The offense was doing well. Drake May just was able to put that team in a situation like, no, it's not literally just Drake May, but you can make a pretty strong argument that Drake May had one of the greatest effects on the offense that and most. And I'm not saying Matthew Stafford didn't have a great effect, but what Drake May did compared to that, where he didn't have great weapons and he still was able to put up pretty good numbers and was effective, very vastly effective, and was just an absolute game changer. I think again, I love Matthew Stafford. I want him to be the one to get it, but I'm gonna have to say that I think he is the one that likely not only is the one to win it, but also the one that probably deserves it, because if you give Drake May any other, like, well, I won't say any other. There's a few teams that would be a downgrade. But if you would give him like 80% of any other roster on in the NFL on offense, the numbers look vastly different, and that offense looks so much scarier because what he's working with just isn't great. Like, his top receiver is Stephon Diggs. So I think there's a lot there. Yes, again, he didn't go up against great competition. He can't really control that. Yes, Matthew Stafford deserves some credit for that too. But what Drake May is doing, like, he's. I think it's just hard to argue that he isn't the most valuable player because of what he is carrying such a good team to on offense. At least what he did in the regular season. So my vote for both
Well,
is going to have to be Drake May, but I do understand the standpoint of Matthew Stafford, and I do hope it ends up being Matthew Stafford because I love the man. But
you just said that Drake May was just carrying a good team, even though you just said that that offense and defense would not be the same without Drake May, or at least his effect on it. So I
I
don't know. I'm assuming you meant that
I'm saying the team is
the
good
team.
because of Drake May. The
Okay.
defense is pretty good. I'm saying the offense, which isn't a talented roster, was a pretty good offense, despite that, because of Drake May, because that's the effect he had.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I think every factor needs to be accounted for, and I guess I know. Like I do agree with you. Schedules, suck. You can't control them whatsoever. But to me, a harder schedule gives me more confidence in putting whichever player who performs better onto that schedule up higher on my list. And I think that's why Matthew Stafford would win that. And that's not negating anything that Drake May ever did. And I think he did a pretty good job like elevating that team too. So, I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. I mean, I even like he's definitely number 2 at the very there's no clear-cut like second place person besides him because it's honestly neck and neck, really. It's just depending on who you ask, who you think is better and who performs better. So I don't know, but I'm sticking with Stafford. Obviously,
Uh,
you with Drake May, but it literally just comes down to who people vote for. I guess
yeah,
during the NFL honors, because people
it's
got
it's
their
gonna
opinions.
be it's numbers and like level of competition versus just pure effect on the team and like lack
Yeah,
of like it's adversity. It's different adversities and different effects, but alas,
yeah.
we'll let that one
People,
rest and
yeah,
move on
yep,
to
yep.
some of these other ones where I think MVP is probably the greatest debate, but we'll go on to Defensive Player of the Year.
We have, according to the NFL, the top five are Miles Garrett, Will Anderson Jr., Nick Bonito, Aiden Hutchinson, and Micah Parsons. I don't know why Micah Parsons was there, even though he didn't really play much this season, but
Yeah, I mean,
I
you
understand
gotta
though.
give him some credit. I mean, what he had a pretty good year, and you can tell how much the Packers missed him when he was gone. But
Oh yeah,
he's just kind of like he's like the bottom three, or he's more like that Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence nod, where it's just a nod. Same with Hutch,
yeah.
where he's like Hutch is really good, but this one, I mean, you can work up the list. Nick Benito had a really good year, his best year I think so far. Um, but and you get up to Will Anderson, who was a monster year. He just gets
Hmm.
better and better. It seems like every year. The numbers don't really stand by him as much as for some people, but he was the like main chess piece in a very scary Texans defense. He only recorded 12 sacks. He was second on his team by sacks, but what his effect was goes far beyond the sacks. But like this one, I mean, I won't speak for you, but I'm pretty sure I could. This one is this year deservedly, and as my prediction is going to be pretty easily Miles Garrett.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
broke the sack record.
there's no. Yeah. That's literally the only argument you need, really, this
He
year.
broke the sack record. Closest in sacks is Brian Burns at 16 and a half, so he beats him by 6.5. But it's not just sacks. I think he may have even led in tackles for loss. He just had a ridiculous
Hmm.
year. He was in a year where the Browns just had taken a major step back. Their defense was still really good, but Miles Garrett was the only one who was having like a really great year. Well, I wouldn't say the only one, but he was the
No.
main person on that team, on just a really bad team that was pulling that, and he pulled them to, like in some cases, he was the one who pulled them to those wins alone. Like he was the only thing that really pulled things together for them, and he kept them in a lot of games because of that too. So Miles Garrett, pretty easily, far and alone, the winner of Defensive Player of the Year. Um, Other guys had a great year, but it's impossible to compete with what Miles Garrett did.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, you have to give credit where credit's due, like you said. I mean, Miles Garrett is Miles Garrett. He like that resume this year. I mean, what else do you want a defensive player to do? Like that's all you need really to convince people to vote for you. So, I think, yeah. I mean, for the both of us, he's obviously the favorite, and I think most people agree with that. So, there's not really much to expand on that, but besides the fact that Miles Garrett, like, he's generational in the sense of, defensive ends. So,
Absolutely, he'll be up there as one of the best. So
for the offensive player of the year, the list goes JSN, Christian McCaffrey, Puka Nakua, Bijan Robinson, and Drake May. So
Off the
I'm
bat,
curious to see what you. Yeah,
I'm gonna count
curious.
out Drake May. He's either MVP or not. Like he's either MVP or
MVP or
MVP runner
bust.
up. Like it's I don't want to. If you're gonna make, because the MVP has become such a quarterback's award, unless someone has a truly spectacular season outside of a quarterback, it's pretty much a quarterback's award. And because of that, I just don't want to let offensive player be best non-quarterback. So putting him up there is yeah. I mean, there's some cases where
Yeah.
it's different, but to me, you count out Drake May. I also want to count out Bijan. Bijan had a really good year. I mean, he's just phenomenal running back, but compared to what the other three have done this year, it's really hard for me to put him in the same conversation. So to me, this comes down to JSN, Puka, and CMC. And this is hard. This one's hard because
It
JSN
is.
was an absolute monster. He was averaging like 100. He had at least 100 yards a week for many weeks in a row. But Puka Nakua has had some absolutely monstrous games. And CMC, he was the workhorse for the 49ers. He had the most touches by anybody. And it was just ridiculous to see him every week. And the fact that these all three players come from the same division is just
Yeah, I was about to
wild.
say.
Um,
Yeah.
my prediction as to who will win, I'm probably gonna have to go with Christian McCaffrey, just because he's the guy who earned himself, like he's at least in the MVP conversation. But
Fair.
Puka and JSN, those two just went back and forth. I think deserved. I'm gonna go JSN. I really like Puka in the season he's had, but because of some of the time Puka missed, I think that might count against him. So I see him probably coming third. Um, in voting, I think this is gonna come down to JSN and CMC. But man, all three have had great years, and they've been JSN and Puka have just been really fun to watch as well. But I'm
Oh,
gonna
easily. Yeah.
have to go with uh, CMC is my prediction, but JSN is my deserved.
Okay. Um. See, I don't know, because I'm also in the same boat too. Because those top three were definitely like really fun to watch. Particularly Nakua and Smith and Jigba. But I don't know. I'm gonna have to stick with JSN winning it because I mean, just the season he's had, um, consistency for the most part. Just some of those games he's performed in, especially towards like the mid-season when he was dropping like 100 yards receiving on some teams. Um, yeah, like you can't ask for anything better than that as a receiver, number one receiver, in fact. It's just really weird that it's not DK Metcalf anymore because he's not there, but you have a new number one receiver there. Um, I will give a shout out to Christian McCaffrey and Puka because those guys are phenomenal. Puka, like you said, missed some time. I think that will end up hurting his stock, which I think it
Yeah.
will. Christian McCaffrey, on the other hand, I think. See, the thing is that I can also say he deserves it too,
Mm-hmm.
just because of what he's done, even without anybody. Like the 49ers were a mess this year with all the injuries again for like how many years in a row? 8, or 9 years in a row where they've been injured every single year.
Yeah.
They've he still performs at an elite level. It's still impressive that he still does that. So I'm gonna say JSN wins it, regardless of what happens. But I think both JSN and Christian McCaffrey deserve the award. I just can't really pick, like,
It's a
you know,
tough one. It's but even
it
like
is a tough one.
between the three, because I mean, how many times did we see like JSN and was it Rashid Shaheed go for like both over a
Oh my
hundred yards,
gosh.
and you were like, "Dang, that's
Yeah.
crazy." And then Puka was like, "I had 180 by myself," and it's like, what? So they're all three were had phenomenal years. I can see where you're coming from. It's so hard to pick between these three where you almost can't be mad for whoever gets it.
Yeah. It's so back and forth too.
Yeah, like as long as it's not, and again, it's not anything against Drake May or Bijan, but I just don't think they deserve it. I think they're kind
No.
of that 4 and 5. I like as long as those guys, the guys that we have top three, finish top three. I Whoever wins is just it's just gonna be round of applause and that's it.
I guess we can move on to the rookies. We'll start with defensive rookie of the year. See, this one's interesting. I had to look this one up a little bit because I wanted to see what the rookies were doing this year, or at least on defense. So top five would be Chris
Schwessinger.
Schlesinger, yeah, Schlesinger, Nick Emmanwori. You have Abdul Carter, James Pierce Jr., and Xavier Watts. So pretty decent names. See, this one's going to be the hard one, or at least in the sense of like all of them did pretty well for their rookies. Obviously, some did a little bit better. I can definitely see a battle between Emmanwori and Schlesinger because, you know, I mean, come on. I mean,
Yeah.
Schlesinger did pretty well at the linebacker position. He was one of those pieces that elevated that Browns defense to what it was. Obviously behind Myles Garrett,
Mm,
but like even Emmanwori, like I like Emmanwori. I was really hopeful that he would go somewhere like Tampa Bay. I mean, when we were doing that predictions and everything, and then he didn't go there. But he's flourished.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, going just down the line, looking at some of these names, Abdul Carter. It's no surprise, like you when you saw him drafted, you expected him to be on this list. Come like
mhm.
last year, you expected him to be here, and I think that's kind of what he didn't have a bad season. He was very effective in the rotation at edge. I don't think he's really earned rookie of the year. James
Mhm.
Pierce, he also is a guy that he worked with a lot of young talent because he also had um, another rookie edge alongside him. Well, he had a lot of rookie talent. They had a young defense, and that it does also include Xavier Watts, who is up there as well. And I think these guys just are young pieces that played really well. Nick Emmanwori, I think, is a really strong piece to a really good defense. And so I think he gets a lot of credit there as he just has a really strong role. But I do think deserved, and my prediction is going to be Schlesinger, who that would just was a he just had a phenomenal first year in Cleveland, and he's I think the future of the Cleveland defense. I think he's going to be the guy that the defense is going to be built around going forward. Obviously, like you mentioned, Myles Garrett's there, but Myles Garrett, I mean, he's getting older for sure. Not saying like he's gonna retire in the next year or two, but you're at the point where you don't know how much longer you're gonna have him. Schwesinger is gonna be that piece that you're like he's probably the guy you're gonna want to build that defense around in your for the future. He had just a phenomenal year, and I think he's gonna be the guy. He's like the other guys, good seasons, strong roles. They proved themselves very well and had good years. Schlesinger proved himself as kind of like an X factor kind of guy on that defense now. And so
Mm-hmm.
to me it's pretty clear cut. And I like Nick Emenwari. I think he's had a great year, and I think he's done a lot of great things, and I think he'll have a really great career in Seattle. But I think Schlesinger this year, I think he takes the cake as the defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on basically everything because Schlesinger has been like a very like great piece to add to that entire team, and I think, like you said, he is definitely the future of the Browns, especially whenever they do decide that Myles Garrett needs to, move on or whatever happens over there, because we don't know. We can't predict the future. But I think Emmon Ward definitely does get the shout out as well as Carter, Pierce, and Watts. It's just unfortunate that Schlesinger has been like elite as a rookie, especially on that
Yeah.
Browns defense. You can't argue with that. So I think it's well deserved that he gets it. But that is not to diminish all the accomplishments of the other four.
Moving along here to offensive rookie of the year, though. Mm.
Hmm. This one's interesting. I like to see what you say about this one. So, for the rookies, we have on offense, we have Teteroa McMillan, we have Jackson Dart, Tyler Shook, Emeka Bigbu, excuse me, Emeka Ibuka, and Trivion Henderson. I had to do it once. Gronkowski has got that name stuck in my head for so long. Um, but like all these guys are, pretty decent. I mean, obviously that quote unquote Linsanity run for Jackson Dart before he got injured. Yeah, this was pretty cool. I did like seeing him play. Tyler Shook,
It was a lot of fun.
he wasn't terrible. Yeah, Shook didn't do too bad. Uh, Ikbuka did also pretty phenomenal, especially filling the role for Mike Evans for a while. Trevion Henderson, um, obviously Patriots running back. It's like I love the fact that it took them until like midway through the season where they were like, huh, if we use our rookie running back, we get a lot more yards. I
Yeah.
had him on fantasy, so like at one point he just took off with production, so that was good to see. But McMillan, I think he's the guy who wins this one. I think he deserves and will win this award because, you know, he's a key piece to that Panthers offense and just team in general for the future. When they drafted him, I was hoping that he would go either to the Panthers or somewhere like in that realm. But Bryce Young has done pretty decently with McMillan, and I like seeing how they've developed a pretty strong bond, like receiver quarterback connection. I do hope to see that more in the future. So McMillan, even in his rookie year, has performed like he's already been in the league for like 5 years. So it's kind of good to see that. So
Yeah. I think this is really interesting because it almost feels like between four of these guys, you get like it almost feels like it's broken up by segment of times where they were the standout rookie of the season. You started with Igbuku, who had a
yes,
really strong start to the season, and they like back when the Bucks were looked at to be like a what they were what placed as a one seed at the time. He had a really good strong
yep,
start to the season. Dart, when he first stepped onto the field, which was a little bit later, and he kind of took over the spotlight when he started getting them wins. They beat the Eagles and everything looked great, but then he started suffering concussions, and more importantly, he started losing a lot of his team around him, and so then you started to see him diminish a little bit. but like at that point was when the Patriots were like, "Hey, let's throw Trevion Henderson," and he had those couple weeks where he just was amazing. And then after that, it felt like we saw Spencer Rattler get benched and Tyler Shuck go in, and we kind of finished the year with Tyler Shuck kind of getting that like. I feel like I saw a lot of people say Tyler Shuck will win it because of the turnaround, because of what he was able to do to give the Saints some life and win a surprising amount of games this year when it seemed like the season was just a complete dump. And admittedly, like it wasn't a good season, but I will say Tyrone McMillan was the one who felt like he had the most complete and consistent season. I think Tyler Shuck gets a lot of recency bias, and I'm hoping that doesn't get counted into actual voting. Jackson Dart, again, he had a really good stretch, but kind of dwindled out. I think Igbuka dwindled out halfway through the year. I don't think Henderson did enough. I am going to agree with you that I think McMillan deserves, and I think it's going to be McMillan or Shuck who wins it, but I do think it's going to be McMillan who is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Had a really good year, was consistent, didn't get a lot of attention for a lot of the year.
Which is very surprising.
He was pretty under the radar, but again, that's kind of just what the Panthers have been. Because they just weren't, like, super impressive. They snuck into the playoffs. That's, like, they were the team that just was like, oh, they're there. So, yeah. I'm gonna go with Tedder and McMillan for both.
So, we will go on to Comeback Player of the Year. Yeah, and then after that, we'll have a couple more. So, for Comeback Player of the Year, it's a very interesting lineup. We have Christian McCaffrey, Aiden Hutchinson, Stephon Diggs, Trevor Lawrence, and Dak Prescott. This is a very interesting race and an interesting award this year, mostly because there's not like a really good, well, not saying there isn't a feel-good story, but like
years past, we've had like, it was like, oh, clear cut, like, oh, this person suffered from this, and it's like, this is, you know, it's so tough to see them go through this, but now they're here. These guys is like, Stephon Diggs, just like, what did he come back from being washed? I guess he suffered an injury, but there just wasn't a lot.
He did suffer an injury.
But it feels more like the comeback is like, oh, he's coming back from being washed. Dak Prescott, he also came back from all of these are from injuries. Dak Prescott came back from an injury, played okay, but he had good help, and his team didn't really win anything. Yeah. This is where it gets difficult, because if you go based off of who had the best season after coming back from something, Christian McCaffrey, I think, is the top, because, again, he's in the MVP race. He's a favorite for Offensive Player of the Year, and he did suffer, like, a rough year last year of injuries. But you got Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor, I'd love to see Trevor win something, but he got, like, he suffered the injury, but it was kind of a, like, quiet shutout, whereas, like, he's gonna be done for the season because the team was bad last year. And yes, he came in and he had a really good end of the year too. He had a really good year. But to me, I think the story, and I feel like that's kind of what Comeback Player of the Year is, the story is going to be Hutch. He didn't have the most phenomenal year. He's Aiden Hutchinson. He had a good year. Came back, played well. Very well. His injury was the most gruesome, I think. And I think that's what's going to... Because like you mentioned, it's kind of the feel-good story essence. And I think that's going to fit the most because he had the leg injury. You know, he's the charismatic one. He's a very charismatic guy. Had that leg injury that really felt like it derailed the Lions season. And then he comes back and he plays well. And so it's just like it has a lot of that essence. No, his team didn't make the playoffs, but again, comeback player of the year isn't really based off of necessarily team success at all. Uh, so to me, I think it's going to be Aiden Hutch. I at least would say deserved is Aiden Hutchinson. I I think it's going to be for prediction. It's going to be Hutch or McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, I mean, yeah, I think of it as like a feel good story award. That's kind of what it is. I do
Yeah.
have to agree with you on Hutchinson though. So I think McCaffrey does win the award. I think deserved though. I think it does go to Hutchinson. But in general, I do like to see how players do bounce back from injuries or just whatever they had to deal with prior to that. I mean, Trevor Lawrence wasn't quite like a gruesome injury, but it was like
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't performing like his normal self. A lot of people thought he was washed, the biggest bust of this quarterback class or whatever. But he came back and played phenomenal. I think that in itself is a good sign of progress. I just don't think it deserves the award, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, then again, I'm not asking people to hurt themselves to get this award. I'm just saying, what do they persevere through? What do they accomplish? That kind of stuff. So, I think Hutchinson deserves it. I think it just goes to McCaffrey though. Like you said, he is in the MVP race. So we'll see.
Yeah, and it kind of just comes down to what do you lean more on? Is it what they came back from, or how successful they were in their comeback? It's there's like two sides of this story. So what they're gonna look at two whatever however the saying goes, two sides of the same coin. I don't know. We can go on to move on. Coach of the year. Move on. This is going
Okay.
horribly.
For Will's sake, I will move on to the Coach of the Year award. So this one's pretty interesting. We have these five. We have Mike Vrabel, Kyle Shanahan, Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald, and Liam Cohen.
I'm gonna be honest.
I
This one I
yeah.
think is a 5-man race. This one could be.
Yeah, this one.
You got someone. You got Mike Vrabel who took a really bad team with not a great roster, and obviously, like again, you don't count the playoffs, but they're in the playoffs, or they're in the Super Bowl. They had the 2 seed in the AFC, ridiculous. Kyle Shanahan persevered through all of the injuries. We saw Stefanski do the same thing a few years ago, and he won. So you could see Shanahan get it. Mike McDonald, while it wasn't like a complete 180, he took a mediocre team that was struggling and turned them into just an absolute powerhouse. And just like the turnaround for the Seahawks has just been crazy. Ben Johnson took a team that was very talented, but couldn't win, and he was the change that took them from 5-12 to what did they end up 12-5, and won the NFC North. And it just seems like he fixed everything that was wrong with what admittedly was like was a talented team that just was a mess. And then there's Liam Cohen, who's kind of similar to like, Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel, but also a bit different, where you had a team that absolutely sucked, had talent, but there just didn't. It didn't seem like everything was working properly, and everything just seems really out of rhythm and out of sync. And in 1 year, he got them back on track. So I I think any of these guys in any other year would be a top candidate.
Yeah.
The only thing I can for sure say is I don't think Kyle Shanahan gets it. And again, like I think this is a 5-man race. It's not like, hey, you're just getting a no. Like Kyle Shanahan could have won, like very easily could win it. I don't think he will, but
Mm-hmm.
he's done so much to have a team do so well. Was in contention for the 1 seed, and he just had an injured, battered defense. Was missing so many guys this year. Did a great job. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm, geez, deserved. I really love what Ben Johnson and Liam Cohen have done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think either of those deserved. I don't know that I could pick one in particular, but I think who wins it is honestly going to be Mike Vrabel. Uh, Patriots felt like, one of, if not the best team going into the playoffs. Um, and again, He's not had a great roster. It was a huge turnaround for them, and he gets so much credit for what that team has been able to do. And yeah, I think it's gonna go to Mike Vrabel. I do love what Mike McDonald has done, but that team just feels like really good. It doesn't feel like just the coaching. I think that a lot of it is the coaching. I think like that defense and being as scary as it is because of that, because of Mike McDonald. But I think Mike Vrabel wins it, but I must say deserved. It could be anyone, but I'll go with Ben Johnson. I'm gonna go
Okay.
with Ben Johnson.
Sweet. I will be a little bit different.
Oh,
I will say deserved is all but Kyle Shanahan. No offense to Kyle Shanahan, but you've done this like 2 or 3 times already. Um, no offense to him. Like everyone's seen this. He's taken a battered, broken 49ers team all the way to the playoffs. Either gets them to the Super Bowl or at least to the playoffs. Like we've seen this like several times already. Like, not saying that it's not impressive. It's just we've seen this before. So that's kind of the reason why I don't really include him in this. But the other four, however, this is what I like. I think all those four deserve the award. However, the person who I think is going to win it, though, like, I understand Mike Vrabel. I actually think that I actually wouldn't mind him winning that because the turnaround that he does at the Patriots is really impressive. But I think who wins this one? I think it's Ben Johnson. I like what he did in Chicago. Maybe that's just
yeah. I mean,
recency. I don't know. Like he's done like the Bears in general have been just lost without any practical guidance from a good head coach for a long time. It's been a while since we've seen a competent head coach in Chicago, and it's finally refreshing to see that again. I mean, you can even ask the Packers fan. The rivalry that they're going to have years on end, it's going to be great. We're going to see so much smack talking because they're both good at the same time now. So just having Ben Johnson to complement an already up and coming team makes it even better. And I like the idea of Ben Johnson getting this award. So for assistant coaches, we have Clint Kubiak, Brian Flores, Josh McDaniels. Why is Josh McDaniels? Sorry. Josh McDaniels, Vance Joseph, and Vic Fangio. I'm sorry I said that. I just have bad memories with Josh McDaniels.
as a head coach, understandable. What he's done with them as an OC he does a good job as an OC. It's just that's about
Yeah, I was about to say,
I get like
don't let him near any head coaching position. That's all I'm saying.
I'll say McDaniels. He's done a great job. I don't think he's gonna get the nod as assistant coach of the year. Vic Fangio.
No.
I mean, you have the Eagles who were good only because really of their defense, and while it is a star-studded defense, I still give so much credit to Vic Fangio. I don't think he gets it this year, though. I think last year would have been the year to get it.
Yeah, it really was.
Brian Flores, he's always really good. But this year again, I don't think was different. Like was particularly special. I think he's a great DC, but I don't think this year he was particularly stand out. This one comes down
Mm-hmm.
to me, top two, Vance Joseph, and Clint Kubiak. And this one by a landslide to me is Clint Kubiak. What he's done with that offense and made like some weeks it wasn't all amazing. Some games it was like a much lower scoring game, but he's managed to put together like made one of the scariest offenses in the league, and it's comprised of Sam Darnold and Rashid Shaheed, who wasn't like a huge piece. He was a piece, but he wasn't a huge threat when he was in New Orleans. Now he's a phenomenal piece, and you have JSN, who is, you know, last year going into this last year, people wondered if he could do it all himself, but like you got that, and he's revitalized Cooper Kupp a little bit. The running game's amazing. Like this offense that kind of felt like it was going to be mid-ish has become like one of the scariest offenses. And so I think Clint Kubiak, I think he's a phenomenal OC, and I think he's had a great year. And so I think, to me, this is going to be deserved and won by Clint Kubiak.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. Deserved and will win it is Kubiak because I mean, like you've mentioned already, Seattle has been always middle of the pack for the last few years, and a lot of people were just like, middle of the road. We've seen this before. But Clint Kubiak was just like I didn't really think much about him when he became the OC for the Seattle Seahawks because I was just like, oh, that's an okay hire. Like I didn't look too much into his history, but like just seeing what he's done there in Seattle, I'm just like, okay, I understand why a lot of people are seeking after him as a head coach because like he can get it done. He's a very impressive coordinator. I think in general he definitely deserves it, especially that turnaround of the Seattle offense because they've desperately needed a turnaround on offense because like they just not have had anything. Obviously with Geno Smith and DK Metcalf gone, a lot of people were just like, okay, well then the offense is really going to fall flat on their face. So just seeing this turnaround to the direction that a lot of people didn't expect it to turn, I appreciate seeing something like that. So I think Clint Kubiak does win this award.
Yeah. But that does finally get through all of the awards. Those are our predictions and who we think deserves them. Again, everyone here has had really great seasons. Some promising futures for some of the young players, and great legacies for some of these veterans. But that is going to wrap it up as we have the NFL honors coming up in a few days. And I'm curious to see some of them. Some of them seem like they've been decided for quite a while, and some of them still feel pretty up in the air. And I'm excited to see how these unfold. But thank you so much for joining us for this preview predictions of the NFL honors. And we obviously will have Super Bowl preview out very soon, as obviously that's around the corner. We'll break that down in and of its own. But this season is about done. It's been a great one.
Oh,
Thank you so much for joining us.
yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you next time.
See ya.
Bye.